Welcome to Talking Carts, the Consumer Reports podcast that helps you shop smarter, save more, and feel good about every purchase. I'm Tanya Christian.
And I'm Brian Vines.
And this is Talking Carts. So how many of us can relate to a sick day off with Price is Right in the background playing on the TV?
I know I was there with some ginger ale watching Bob Barker do his thing while the Price is Right was on. And while that was entertaining, most consumers really don't want to be guessing at how much their groceries are going to cost them.
Exactly. I mean, if you've ever opened your shopping app and felt like you were part of a secret national experiment to see how much they can squeeze out of your wallet, well, you're probably right. At least that's what a CR investigation found on the largest online grocery marketplace in North America, Instacart.
And on today's show, we are tearing the lid off that black box of Instacart's AI-enabled pricing.
We're going to get the full scoop from Derek Kravitz, an investigative reporter at Consumer Reports. Brian, I am very interested to hear what he has to say, because when I tell you I'm an Instacart loyalist, like I have been with Instacart for the past 5+ years. So I feel slightly betrayed by this whole, we're secretly trying to figure out how much you're willing to pay for something. First of all, I'm cheap, so they're not going to really get much out of me.
Right. Well, listen, when you said cheap, I thought you were calling my name, which is why I usually do not go onto these apps. As a matter of fact, I didn't even realize that I had an Instacart account, and I was going through and it popped up, and I realized that I sent a care package to my friend, and I used Instacart because, she's in Massachusetts, and I sent something, and I just wanted to send something nice and not go through the flower place or this place or that place,
right.
Just something comforting and Instacart stepped in. I was able to do it and apparently forget about it. But I had no idea that they might have been playing with the prices on me, which is kind of insane if you think about, we're paying different prices, not just based on the store, but the platform and what they're doing to manipulate the prices.
Well, and it's crazy. Like, as we were preparing for this show, I just very quickly looked up, okay, what's the difference in pricing, like grocery store pricing between Brooklyn and Jersey? And it's 9.2%.
So wait, disadvantaging me in Brooklyn?
Of course. I mean, listen, that's typical. I feel like that's typical. You live in a city, you kind of pay the upcharge of living in the city. But my thing is what if your next door neighbor was paying 9.2% less than you on your groceries? That's crazy. And I kind of feel like that's where things are going. Maybe it's not that crazy yet, but that's what I don't like about this whole thing.
It really is something that's kind of crazy, because we think about all the ways that we try to get cheaper prices. Like, I know I belong to several of the loyalty clubs for groceries, as well as downloading all these apps to my phone just so I can have a workaround.
I mean, and it's a huge deal, especially now that we're in the holiday season. If anybody asks me like, oh, what's your secret weapon for the holidays? I always say Instacart. If I don't have time to run to the store, I know Instacart has me. Somebody else can do it. I have time to be at home doing what I need to do there.
I peeped all of the Instacart shoppers shopping next to me. And you can always spot the people who are on their phone picking the items that Tanya and her ilk want from their orders. It really has changed the landscape. So we got to talk to Derek to find out how much this disruptor in the supermarket grocery space is really costing us in the end. So Derek Kravitz, investigative reporter at Consumer Reports, thanks so much for bringing us this investigation. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Derek, before we get started and the nitty gritty of what's going down with Instacart, I want to just do a little true, false, receipts or rumors so that people who are not really familiar with Instacart, even though it is the biggest platform, can get an idea of just some of the things we're dealing with this investigation. Cool?
Yeah, fair enough. Go ahead.
So quick fire, receipts is true, rumors are false.
Okay.
Instacart prices always match what's in store.
No. And sorry, that would be rumors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone pays the same delivery fee.
Rumors.
Dynamic pricing is illegal.
Rumors. Dynamic pricing is legal.
And when you order through Instacart, you are agreeing to be profiled, essentially.
Receipts. Yep, that's right. You are agreeing to give up some of your personal information, some of your personal data for the privilege of using the platform. And as a result, they use that data in order to personalize some of the offers, promotions, discounts, things like that, or set prices, individualize and personalize the price that you see. So yeah, you are in essence giving something up, a little bit of your own personal data in order to get that offer, to get that price.
Derek, you kind of alluded to this. This is not new. It's been happening for a while. A couple years ago, I went on a trip with my fiance, and to upgrade to first class, I swear his was like $300 cheaper. And I realized, yeah, so they are deciding who gets what price. When did this get started? Like, when did this become almost a thing?
I mean, if you're really tracing back the history of all this, dynamic pricing sort of started in the 1970s with hotels and airline flights and concert bookings. It really didn't get supercharged or turbocharged until the internet era and apps and algorithms and all of that. But in essence, different people have been charged different prices for the same services and the same goods dating back decades.
Well, Tanya talked a second ago about her champagne problems of getting a $300 first class upgrade. But like you said, we know that people pay different things. Like if you have good credit, you get a lower mortgage rate or a better deal on a car. So why does it feel so icky when we're talking about something as basic as eggs and bread? Like that seems like it would be one of the few places where everything is just even. Like my neighbor might have got a better interest rate on their house or their car, but why should I have to pay more for cheese and eggs from the same store?
Right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Essential items, right? Like food, groceries, those are things that we all just sort of assume or take for granted is constant or the same across most customers, regardless of who you are. A little bit of a geographic difference. So if you're shopping in Georgia or Florida versus New York or Connecticut, you're going to get different prices because of supply chain and where you are in the country and where you're shopping at. But generally speaking, people expect the price that you have in the grocery store to be the same, whether it's you're the customer, your neighbor, your friend, your family member, everyone gets the same price. And that's the expectation. Now that's been upended. That's different now, right? Because a lot of people use the grocery store apps or they use a third-party delivery service like an Instacart or a DoorDash or an Uber Eats. And because of that, now they have access to all this personal data about you and they can tailor promotions and discounts and in essence, final prices to you, the individual shopper. And that's the difference.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's not simply that they are marking up the price for Instacart. I feel like if you're an Instacart user, unless you click on a, grocery store that says in-store prices, you know that you're paying a little bit extra. The issue is that I'm paying a little extra and then my neighbor is paying even more.
Yeah. So there's long been a hunch, a assumption that different people get different prices on Instacart, but we actually had a collaborator, a partner in this Groundwork Collaborative, a nonprofit think tank, and Katie Wells, who's our co-author on the report. And she wanted to find out, well, is this true? Are there different prices for different people on Instacart, and can we prove that? So we got 437 people from across the country, 4 different cities, to shop for the same products at the same time at the same stores. And we had them take screenshots of the prices in their virtual carts and then send those screenshots to us. And then we analyzed all the data and wanted to see what we could find. And what we found was different people got different prices for the same exact goods. Instacart has long been very upfront that they are conducting price experiments on people, and they offer that up as a service to grocery retailers. We're going to experiment prices on people, and we're going to take that data, all the findings from that, and give it back to you, and then you can set your prices with that data in hand. They tell their corporate clients that a lot of people just are unaware that they're actively in a price experiment, but they describe the price differentials as negligible. So our test results found that that's not the case. The prices that were being experimented on, it changed the overall basket totals by about 7%. So if you're spending $100 at the grocery store, one person is going to get $100, the other person might get $107. And you extrapolate that over the course of a year with 4 in a household, that's around $1,200. That's not negligible to a lot of American families, especially on the heels of the biggest increase in food prices since the late 1970s. So this all matters. It's all real money. It's not negligible amount of money. And so we took our findings back to Instacart and asked them what's going on. And they confirmed, yeah, these are price experiments. We're pretty open and upfront about that. But we still think that they're limited, that they are randomized by where you are in the country and the type of product that you're buying. We're not tailoring them based off of your demographics. But they did acknowledge that some brands might be able to tailor promotions and discounts based on your buyer behavior, the types of products that you like. And they also acknowledged that our test showed accurate reflections of their price experimentations.
Is there any way that this advantages consumers in the end?
So when we broke it out, when we looked at all the different baskets that people were getting in our tests and saw the different groupings that people were being put into, we found that the lowest price groupings, the folks that got the best deals, it was about 8% of our sample. And 92% of folks got more expensive basket totals. So yeah, some people are winners in this equation, right? You can't tell if you're a winner or loser in this, but there are some 8% of people that are getting the best deal possible with this algorithm, but you don't know about it. It's invisible to you. It's an algorithm. It's a black box. And a lot of people don't even know that this type of price experimentation is going on in the first place.
Do we know anything about that 8% of people who consistently got the lowest prices? Were they all like rich white people in affluent neighborhoods? Or were they the folks on the census tract who have the highest EBT and cost of living and lowest housing? Like, is it Robin Hood over here, or is it the rich getting richer?
That's probably one of the first questions we asked of the data, right? We wanted to find out what, if anything, in terms of demographics or who you are factored into the price you saw. We did not have a big enough sample representative of the United States population to say definitively that there are certain demographic factors at play. We know from patents that Instacart and Eversight, their AI software that they acquired in 2022, we know from those patents they have the capability to use all of this information to tailor specific prices and promotions and discounts to subpopulations, to individual or small groups of people based off of the age and gender and household size and things like that, wealth, income, things of that type. But Instacart told us specifically that they do not use demographics or personal data in order to inform this price experimentation. So they're saying, no, we don't do that. Our data couldn't answer that definitively. But we do know they have the capability to do that. Instacart told us that 10 retailers currently use this price experimentation in setting their own prices for their customers through the Instacart platform. Now, these 10 retailers, we don't know who they are. They wouldn't tell us the specific names of the companies that are doing this. So that presented a challenge. We wanted to figure out who they were, obviously. We want to find out who's doing this. So we conducted an additional test to find out which retailers we could see were basically offering different prices to different people for the same exact products. And what we found, Albertsons, Safeway, which is a banner within Albertsons, Costco, Target. But, it's hard to tell. It's really hard to figure out and discern exactly which places are doing this and where in the country. But we did find for nearly every single person that went through our CR virtual tests that they were subject to some type of algorithmic pricing.
So, Derek, you talked about the Instacart patent and how it's so wide so they can make sure in future that whatever they're doing is whatever they're doing. But as I'm sitting here now, I'm thinking of the Albertsons of the world and even the Target and thinking about grocery stores and patents. Those two things don't go together. So is Instacart a technology company? Or are they a grocery company, or are they a delivery company?
Instacart, was founded in 2012. And during the pandemic, that's when they saw a huge spike in users and orders. They are now on pace to have a little bit more than 300 million orders in 2025 from about, say, 25 million customers in US and Canada. So, significant, but that's mostly from the pandemic, that surge of users. And since then, they've been transitioning themselves not just as a grocery delivery service platform, but also as a software tech company that sells information, data, and software to retailers and brands, consumer packaged good companies, CPGs, and then also advertising. So, they now have these new caper carts where somewhat AI enabled, where they have little screens on them and they will blast ads to you as you shop in the store on the grocery cart that you're pushing. And so they are directly trying to figure out what is the best pathway forward as a tech company, as an ad company, and less so as a delivery fulfillment platform.
Derek, you mentioned AI. You also mentioned it in this story. How are they using it now? And what is the, assumption that how AI will be used in the future, given this data that they're collecting?
Instacart acquired an AI company in 2022. It's called Eversight. And really that was their first foray into artificial intelligence. And really this software, this algorithm and AI software really underpins everything that they do related to price experimentation. So the AI essentially helps the algorithm learn about people over time and really adjust itself based off of shopping patterns and buyer behavior and how people respond to a whole host of things, including font and colors and labels and per unit sizing. So really, they're trying to compete with the likes of Amazon and Walmart and keep pace. And this is a software that promises, that pledges to give them an extra 1, 2, 3 percentage points on both revenue, sales, and margins. And for them, that's, a huge difference. That's hundreds of millions of dollars for some of these companies.
So as someone who has used Instacart exactly once and is a committed grocery store shopper, what does any of this have to do with me? How am I going to be impacted by all these experiments that are happening in this black box that the folks at Instacart are playing in?
Well, retailers are already employing some of the same sort of tactics, pricing tactics, or ideas that not just Instacart, but other retailers have really created and deployed out into the real world in order to inform their own strategies for their customers. We found from an earlier investigation that Kroger uses demographic data, so age or gender or household size or wealth income, in order to send out specific tailored promotions or discounts to their loyalty members. And Kroger drives most of their sales through their free loyalty program. 95 or percent or more of their sales go through the loyalty program. So we already know this is being used, and we already know that a lot of places have the capability to use this, but there's a lack of regulation around it, right? There's not a lot of federal or state laws that really tackle this type of algorithmic or what they might call surveillance pricing, where they use personal data or demographic data or buyer behavior in order to inform the prices that you see or the discounts that you see. So it's opening of a Pandora's box, so to speak, of all of the different types of things that can be applied to you without you knowing it from any number of grocery retailers or any other retailers for that matter.
There was a very big story about Michael's, and people were walking into Michael's and they had no prices on the shelves. And you speak a little bit about dynamic shelves. Brian, you asked, well, what does it mean for people who are not on Instacart? But it sounds like these methods are presenting a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And other retailers are joining in on this idea of, well, let's see how much people will pay for these things.
Yeah. Electronic shelf tags, so the little digital labels you see on store shelves, replacing paper or plastic that we historically saw. I think I read somewhere about 10% of grocery stores have the little electronic shelves labels. ESLs is the industry term for them. There are really sophisticated ESL offerings where you can change the prices of every product in the store, 10,000, 15, 20,000 different products in the blink of an eye. And that's a really powerful technology and one that regulators are trying to catch up to.
How far are we away from me putting that peanut butter in my cart for $2.49, and by the time I get to the price checkout, it's $2.53, and they're like, it's 4 pennies. Like, no one's gonna, like, here or there. Like, I know my pennies, and I know how much something was when I grabbed it. But is that the end game? Like, are we going to be timing out our groceries the same way we're like looking at those flights and buying them 2 weeks early, or putting something in our ghost cart and waiting till the price drops? Is that the future that we're blinking at?
Yeah. Some states are trying to figure out, well, maybe we should try to limit how much a price can be increased in a given 24 or 48-hour window, right? So you're only allowed to change the price of a given product once in 24 hours or twice in 48 hours, something like that. So that could be the future here. But, of course, regulators are playing catch up.
And let's talk about that a little bit. I know in the story you mentioned New York as one of the places that's looking into legislation to kind of curb some of this. In New York, I mean, we know even with the Ubers, it's a thing, the Ubers, the hotels, now it's the groceries. What is it that's like kind of stopping other states from taking action?
It's so, when you look at legislative bodies around the United States, different states have different, cultures and practices and bills and active legislation in place for these type of things. And so every state's a little bit different. New York just now has a new pricing bill where if you have a price on an app that has been algorithmically changed or experimented on or moved or adjusted in any way based on your personal data or demographics, it has a little disclaimer that says this price was set by an algorithm using your personal data. That's the phrase that's supposed to be on those prices. So ride shares, grocery stores, any retailer really operating in New York State. And several states are considering similar types of legislation like California, Colorado, Pennsylvania.
Are we going to wind up with a patchwork of fixes across the country? And does that ultimately do any good.
You know, at the federal level, there are attempts to try to rein all this in, right? To pass a big surveillance pricing bill that would limit this practice. The FTC was looking at surveillance pricing and to try to figure out how to regulate this. So there are legislators at the federal level that are looking at this and considering sponsoring and authoring bills that would address this, right? So that's probably the biggest sort of catch-all thing that could happen that could really sort of answer how to stop this practice from pricing, you know, products higher or much higher for certain people versus others, right? And without you having any insider knowledge about it.
Derek, you've given us quite a bit of information. People who are on Instacart now, they might decide to move away from it after this, but what are just some key takeaways? What can people do to help save money?
Yeah. So CR has done several different big picture stories about expert strategies on how to save money when you're shopping for groceries and other things too. One thing is planning before you shop, right? So shopping lists, which sounds sort of boring, but they really do limit impulse purchases or shopping outside of the list that you've already compiled. It also saves you time. So that's one good strategy that people recommend. Comparing unit prices also sounds a little bit labor intensive, maybe a little boring, but it really helps, right? And the last one is buy in bulk. I mean, a lot of studies, including one at CR, has found that typically when you buy from like big warehouse clubs, like a Costco or a Sam's Club, products mostly sold in large quantities, they tend to typically offer the best per unit prices.
I love all those tips. And I know that you mentioned it could be labor intensive, but once you get your brain wrapped around it, it becomes second nature. I find myself doing it all the time. Even when we were talking about those electronic tags, I was thinking, I go to the store for what's on sale. So if it's in the circular, that's what I'm getting.
I'm just sitting here imagining a day, Tanya, where circulars are no longer a thing because we won't need to print and distribute a circular and show everybody all these prices that we have no intention of honoring. If I can send the Tanya and Derek price right to your phone and say, come on down. So those days may be numbered, but I love this analog advice for this digital problem that we might be facing right now. But with respect to it being a digital situation, before we get out of here, I want to know, is there anything that we might be able to do to advantage ourselves on that digital front?
Typically the best sort of most critical piece of advice when you're using, digital services like an app, third-party delivery service or anything else where you're not sure if that price that you're seeing is the lowest price, it's best to check multiple places.
Well, Derek, thank you so much for coming on Talking Carts and speaking to us all about your investigative reporting on Instacart.
Well, thank you both. Yeah, it was really fun to chat with you about this.
I can't wait to see more in these series. We saw Kroger, now we see Instacart. So all of you retailers, beware. Consumer Reports will see it and show the work to the consumers. So I'm going to ask you before we get out of here, Tanya, are you still a committed Instacart shopper or are you looking around to see other options?
So I have to be honest. I am still an Instacart shopper. However, you know how I am about credit card perks. Okay. So my United card pays for my Instacart. Okay. And they also give me $15 a month to shop on Instacart with. So I still will be using Instacart, but like Derek said, I am only going to the stores that do not have the markups.
Well, I just want to say personally, I love your cascade of deals. And I look forward to the day when you can share your ways with the rest of the audience here at Talking Carts so we can all get on that baller on a budget status and live the life that we want and deserve and do it in a way that keeps our profits going up and not those corporations. So thank you again to Derek Kravitz. You can read about his investigation at consumerreports.org. We'll see you next time on Talking Carts.